Welcome everyone. My name is Carabaillie. As you know, I've been asked to design the spring-summer range for the new label Luminosity Star. Today we are going to briefly review the design brief and how I've interpreted this in my designs. We're going to go through a visual and verbal description of the garment that I've produced as a sample garment, and also to discuss the specification sheets which I have here and you're welcome to look at, including the costing analyses and how these might be altered. Alright, so to review the design brief, Miss Star has, as you would know, her previous skincare range of Luminosity, which is a skincare and cosmetic range in collaboration with Natio, which mainly focuses on cruelty-free beauty, and there are some links between that and Luminosity Star, which is the upcoming clothing brand. So the key themes are rock and roll, retro, edgy, streetwise, young and New York urban, and I've tried to keep these in mind when designing my range. Sales are intended internationally with a target market of 16 to 35-year-old women, and there is a focus on fair trade, animal rights, cruelty-free sourcing of materials, using renewable and environmentally sourced products where able, and using technological efficiencies during manufacturing to minimise any wastage. The range was to include separates, so skirts, shorts, tops and jeans, dresses, jackets and essential accessories such as belts. It was to be cutting edge and trend-setting, but also sufficiently mainstream for affordability, wearability and practicality. In summary, it was to have versatility and innovation to suit the busy girl's modern lifestyle. The pieces in the range were also to have an aesthetic consistency, to be integrated and visually complementary as well, and to involve bold colours. Okay, next to talk about my research and inspirations. So one of the four major looks in the spring-summer 2015 trend forecast was the artisanal look, and this is the trade fair poster associated with that. So it fitted well with the Luminosity Star brief in that it had lots of fabrics with rich jewel tones. They also talked about intricate florals and white lace, and some of that is represented here, and that wasn't so much part of the look, so I haven't used that in my range. But they do have a focus on textures and the combination of textures, so using suede and jacquard, also with repeated geometric patterns, and a focus on linear, the use of lines, so linear borders were predicted to be quite popular as well. There was also a strong leaning towards embellishments of different sorts, so embroidery, applique, eyelets and studs and 3D floras, and I have interpreted those into the Luminosity Star range, and also using colours from different cultures, especially embracing bright colours with neutrals, and again I've used that in our range as well. So overall, the artisanal trend is reflected quite well in the range that's upcoming, so it should, I guess, benefit from that in terms of profitability and sales. And that's just another interpretation of the artisanal trend with the bright, bold colours and the influences from different cultures. So this was my original mood board, so we'll go through some of those pictures in detail and why I found that they were particularly inspiring when I was designing this range. So these two images gave me some inspiration in terms of fabric choice. So both of them had bright areas with more of a neutral background, which was part of the trend that we were focusing on. And also the guitar image just made me remember at all times that this was, I guess, about the music as well as the fashion, and that a lot of the marketing will be towards the people who enjoy Chloe Starr's music and attend rock festivals and things like that as well. These two images and the one on the following page were all also had the bold colour with a neutral background, which really made the colour stand out, but also portrayed women who had independence, and they were also fun images, which reflects that rock attitude as well. So those three are kept on to remind me of that. And of course, one of Ms. Starr's influences in her early music career was Blondie, and some of these images really showed the rock fashion of the time, and they're still fashionable today, some of these looks, so I have interpreted those into the range as well. Specifically looking at some features that I thought of including, and some of these have been included. Contrasting textures and patterns are shown really well in that one, the fur and the florals and the linear borders of the skirt. There's a lot of textures, pattern geometrics and fringe there, and it's just a really nice image, particularly showing the colours from different cultures as well. This was a good example of using linear borders and contrasting patterns. This jacket had lots of studs and spikes, and I really sort of started developing ideas to use studs and spikes in the range after that. The fringe and the suede and the ties and loops of this image both gave a really rock festival feel to those pictures as well. And again, another really rock and roll image with a very textured jacket. It's almost scaly, and another woman with that independent attitude as well. And this image was just a bit more of a boho feel, but also fitted that rock festival vibe. Also using fringe and embellishments, and I considered this in my range as well. And again, luxurious fabrics and texture in the final picture. Okay, now we'll talk about how my designs have met the design brief. The design in particular that we'll talk about today is this dress. So we'll have it modelled later on in real life. This is the trade sketch of the dress. So just to talk through the features in particular, we've got a 2.5 centimetre width turtleneck collar. There's a hidden hook and eye to close the neckline, but we'll discuss later about whether that's the most appropriate closure. Bias binding to the arm openings, which is made out of the same fabric as the top bodice part of the dress. The waistline there is top stitched. There's an exposed zipper at the back, which has 2 centimetres of width exposed, and it's top stitched around. The side seams of the skirt are pressed towards the back and top stitched, and there's a small centre back vent. The skirt's mini skirt length, and it has a frayed hem. So all in all, it's quite a simple design, but it's very effective with the fabrics that we've chosen. So I've got some samples on my storyboard there, but I've also got some that we can pass around. So that's the mesh which the bodice is made out of. So it is semi-transparent. It's made out of a nylon elastane blend, and it's got those gold spots that were quite reminiscent of those two particular photos I was looking at when I was thinking about fabric choices. And the skirt is made out of a slightly stretchy cotton elastane blend denim. Both of those are sourced from the Remnant Warehouse in Australia. Just to point out some more of the design features that fit with the brief, I did keep in mind when designing this that it ideally would be able to be cut out of fabric with minimal wastage of fabric, and I've done some fabric lays here to show that that's the case. So the front of the top fits beautifully side by side in the width of the fabric that it's available in this particular size, although that will change when we grade up sizes. The back of the bodice is similar, but we do have this circle, this oval-shaped area, which is either waisted, but I could also turn this into a bag or some other sort of accessory that would also be saleable and profitable and minimise the wastage. And the skirt fits nicely as well into the denim fabric width. This is just to describe the other components that we have. So this is a number 5 84cm gold zipper, which is available from the UK but not really available anywhere else. It is also too long, so it only comes in that length. We'll talk about ways around this later. It looks lovely with the dress, and we've shown that today, so we'll discuss about whether you want to go down that path or whether you want to make the cheaper choice of getting zipper by the yard. We've just got plain black polyester thread and a hook and bar, which we'll also discuss later. And these are images of the dress sample being worn by Miss Star. So the zipper really is a feature on the back there. Okay. We'll go through the specification sheets briefly, so I have them all here. So in real life these would be up on a big screen and be legible from this as well. But the design concept specification sheet there, we've already gone over the trade sketch, so you know what the design features are and also the fabric choices. The pattern spec sheet is there as well, with the pattern pieces. The marker cutting and lay plan is there, but the digital version was on the slide previously, and I've got more detailed digital versions available as well. The garment specification sheet with instructions is included as well, and the fabric component sheets for each item used. I have got the costing sheet for the sample only there, which you're already aware of. And then I've also got a costing sheet for the production garment, which gives a final price, a recommended retail price of $299.95. And we can discuss whether this is an appropriate price for the range that you're targeting, or whether making some decisions about fabric and component choices might lower this price for saleability. And that's where we come to the alternatives to discuss. So to start with, the zipper is where the major cost saving would be, both in terms of postage, which is not such an issue when we're buying many of them, but was certainly an issue with affecting the costing for production of one garment, but also in terms of the waisted length as well. So we buy quite a long zipper, and about a third of it is not required for the design. This was probably the best option I could find. So from the zipper shipper in the US, it's brass zipper tape by the yard. The difference is that the only gold appearing bits are the teeth themselves, and it's on a black cotton fabric. So it wouldn't be such a feature, but if you wanted to go down that path, it would be a significant saving. It also allows you to choose an individual slider. So there are some in the goldy brass colour that are particularly nice as well there, and they're also not very expensive. So it's something for your marketing team to consider. The second is the choice of denim. So this is a good quality denim sourced from Australia. There are two ways we could go with that if you wanted to change it. There are much cheaper versions available from the US and from Asia. But knowing that your brand is quite concerned about the environmental impact of what we're doing as a clothing production company, there are also alternatives that are more environmentally friendly, although they are more expensive as well. So the main one of these that I found is this. So from Alibaba, it's a 70% bamboo, 30% organic cotton denim, which has similar properties to the denim that we've used in the garment. But there is a minimum order of about 3,000 yards, so we'd have to be producing quite a lot to reach that to start with, and it's also more expensive per yard as well. So again, something for you to consider. The final thing to discuss alternatives with is the hook and bar. So the hook and bar itself was reasonably expensive for just the closure of the neck. When there are simpler ways to do this, it also requires hand stitching, which is a bit more time for factory workers to install as well. These brass studs are 10 millimetres across, so they're slightly larger than the spots on the fabric, but they probably would fit in quite nicely anyway to have that as the neck closure, and it also works out to be much cheaper and can be installed much quicker by machine. So again, something to consider, and I'd probably recommend leaning towards that in this case. All right, to continue on to the remainder of the range, which we'll present at a later date as an entire range. I've created a group of separate dresses and jackets for the young female market. Each design is a unique take on this edgy rock vibe of the Luminous Star brand, and I think I've maintained cohesiveness and the ability to mix and match these garments as well. I've used quite a solid accented neutral colour palette, so it's a lot of bold colours, but it's mixed with the browns and blacks along the way as well. and also by integrating the predicted trends, particularly the artisanal trend for the season. So there's lots of environmentally friendly repurposed Indian sari fabric that I've used in this range as well. We can discuss this when I present the range, but it is cheap to purchase, it is very environmentally friendly because otherwise it would be going to landfill. The downside is that we have to wash it, and that uses some water as well, so there's an environmental impact from that, and also the detergents. So we'd have to be considerate as to how we manage the cleaning of that fabric before using it. I've also used a range of embellishments, so there's fringe, tassel, trims, studding, and lots of eyelets with ties as well. I've mainly aimed at the streetwear market, but some pieces have quite a lot of versatility for use as casual or evening wear as well. So we'll go through them as a bit of a sneak peek for the rest of the range. Alright, so we've got a dress with diamond panels, which is miniskirt length as well. These can be made from the sari fabric, but we can also have different colourways with using the denim as well. This is just almost a shawl over the shoulders, but it will button up at the wrist with studs and snaps there, and it has the fringe tassel there, and this is just a very rough guide as to the colours that I was designing this in, and the suede, faux suede trim that I'll use for that one. This one is inspired by this small boho picture that we showed before. There's fringe included. The top part of the dress is made from the sari fabric, which will match the fringe in colour, but there's also 2 panels of black denim here as well. It's got quite a low back with a centre back invisible zipper there, and a flowing skirt and quite billowy flowing arms as well. And there are many colourways options for this, but this is the one that I've used just to compare the fabrics to each other. I've got 2 designs here that both include eyelets and ties, both of which are randomly tied at the back, and both of which have an option for getting in and out of the garment once those ties are in the desired position by the consumer. So they've both got side zippers that will enable that to occur. Then we've got 2 jackets, so a short cropped denim sleeveless vest and a long sleeved jacket as well, both of which have the rock and roll feel, and both of which I was intending to produce mainly in black to complement the other dresses in the range. And I have a skirt design and shorts with tights design as well. The shorts were intended to be out of the black denim that we've used for this garment, and the leggings part of it to be out of the mesh, so you've got a pretty good idea of how those 2 fabrics work together there. To give this sort of look like having boots over pants. Alright, are there any questions?
Yeah, it's very thorough.
Alright,
That's it with that. Yeah, it's beautifully done.
I'll leave the specification sheets with you, and you can have a look through those, have a think about the alternatives that we've talked about, and perhaps at the next meeting we can talk about production site of some of these garments, and I'll produce the trade sketches and more details about the remainder of the range at that time.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Thank you very much.